So, Don, it's a sweet spot, but it's a sweet spot fueled in large part by credit, as we showed on that graph. The credit is it's growing credit faster than it's growing the GDP.
It is, and I think the interesting thing on the graphic that you're using is just how flat, how invariant the real GDP is for the last 6 years. This is implausible, given all the things that are happening in the world and all the things that are happening in China. But they're data, so that's what we use. The credit rise is not as worrisome to me as to some people. I think they're focusing on de-risking rather than deleveraging. Different idea.
What's the distinction?
So the distinction is that the credit that they allocate, they want to make sure goes to projects that really lift the China economy, as opposed to those kinds of projects that may not really give growth that Beijing wants.
That's entirely right by Donald. They're targeting risk in the financial system in particular, the shadow banking sector, wealth management products, but they don't want to stop credit going to the real economy.
Can they do that without running up against the state-owned enterprises? Because a lot of that credit is actually state-owned enterprises, isn't it?
Yeah, no, and they remain the big elephant in the room. They are totally hooked on debt. They're uncompetitive, and China is still blocking foreign competition, so the SOE sector definitely needs reform.
And it seems like a lot of the reforms that we've seen in terms of, say, supply production has come from the small and medium-sized businesses and not the SOEs. How do they tackle that?
That's a great point. And I think it's because the SOEs are the ones that have the muscle.
Yeah.
And so they protect themselves, and the little guys are more at risk from these kinds of pressures. This is not really helpful.
So when Xi Jinping first came in, he talked a lot about reform, a lot about reform. Now, we just had the 19th Party Congress. Halfway through, there wasn't much talk about reform. Is he changing his agenda? Is he even going to take on the state-owned enterprises anymore?
I don't think so. His favorite three-word soundbite, you guys know soundbites, improved state management. That's his phrase. My forward phrase for SOE reform in China would be call Exxon and Chevron. You bring them in, and PetroChina and Sinopec and CNOOC would quickly understand what real economic reform is. You do that in every industry, China would be a different place in 3 years.
Well, does that
You're not going to do this.